Welcome to productivity class day 3. My name is Adebisi Joy Ateli, your coach. So quickly, how to measure progress and stay aligned. How to measure progress and stay aligned. So why is it that many people feel stuck even when they are trying? So how do you measure your progress? One of the most discouraging experiences in life is when you put efforts into something and you are not seeing that thing for which you are putting your efforts. So one of the most discouraging thing about life is that you put effort and still feel unsure if you are moving forward. So many people are working, planning, and learning and trying to improve, yet they feel confused, tired and misaligned. So this often happens not because they are failing, but because they don't know how they will measure their progress. How do they know that they're actually progressing? So when people do not know how to measure their progress, they rely on their feelings, they rely on what they are seeing. So listen to me, on good days, they may feel that they are productive, and on bad days they feel like they are failures. So how do we measure progress? I want you to understand that feeling are unreliable indicators of growth. Progress needs a better measure than using our emotions to measure if we are actually making what? Progress. So now let us go a little bit deeper. So what really is progress? What really is progress? Remember, we are still in our productivity class. What is progress? I wrote something down here. I want to read for you that progress is not always dramatic. It is not always fast. It is not always visible. Many people believe that progress means constant achievements, visible results, or outward success, but real progress often begins internally before it shows externally. So your progress will begin from your inside before it will start showing on your outside. So that is what real progress is all about. So it begins internally before it begins to show outwardly. Outwardly. So still on progress is movement in the right direction. Progress is movement in the right direction. It's not perfection. It is a gradual closing of the gap between where you are and where you are meant to be. So sometimes that movement looks like action. Other times it looks like clarity, correction, or rest. So if you only measure progress by your big wins, you will if you only measure progress by your big wins, you will overlook small, but meaningful what shifts. So you may miss changes in your mindset. Maybe the progress you are making is the changes you are making in your mindset, discipline, focus, or awareness that are essential foundations for long-term results. So now, why is it that many people struggle to measure progress? Many people struggle because they compare their progress with other people's what? Progress. They compare their progress with other people's progress. Comparison, distorts perception. Someone else's pace, capacity, or season may be different, but comparison makes it seem like you are behind even when you are moving well. If you are comparing your life with another person's life, it will seem like you are behind and you are not making progress. So listen to me. Another reason is unrealistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations. Now, people expect progress to be quick, smooth, and linear, but growth is rarely linear. There are seasons of acceleration and seasons of slowing down. There are times when progress feels clear and times when it feels hidden. So lastly, why people struggle to measure progress? Many people confuse activity with what? Progress. Activity is not progress. Being busy doesn't always mean you are moving forward. Progress is not measured by how much you do, but by whether what you do is aligned with your purpose and your priorities. What you are doing, is it aligning with your purpose and your priorities? So measuring progress, how do we measure progress? We should measure progress through alignment. So now, one of the headiest way to measure progress is through what? Alignment. Through alignment. Alignment asks a different question from achievement. Instead of asking how much have I done, alignment asks, am I doing the right things? Am I doing the right things? This is what alignment is going to ask you. So are you doing the right things? So you are making progress if your actions align with your values, your goals, and your current season. You are making progress when your actions align with your values. Those actions you are taking, are they aligned with your values? Are they aligned with your goals and your current season? So even if the results are small, alignment means you are building in the right direction. For example, if your season requires learning, if your season requires you to learn, then gaining understanding is progress. Gaining understanding is what? Progress. If your season requires healing or rest, then slowing down is what? Progress for you. Now, you cannot measure your progress with another person's progress. It all depends on your season. So if your season requires structure, then creating routines is progress. When you are able to create routines, it is progress. Progress without alignment leads to exhaustion. Progress without alignment leads to exhaustion. Alignment without progress leads to what I call leads to stagnation. So that means that both are needed. Both are needed. So alignment and progress are needed. So now it's important that while we are going on in our life, we must review. We must review. So what is the role of review in staying aligned? What is the role of review in staying aligned? Review is a gentle but powerful tool. Review is not self-judgment. You are not judging yourself. It is self-awareness. It is understanding. Understanding if you are making progress. So when you review, you are simply checking in with yourself to understand what is working and what is not working. You are checking your life to know if this thing I'm doing, is it working or is it not working. Review helps you notice patterns. It helps you to see where your energy is going. It helps you recognize whether your actions are producing the results you desire for your life, or whether you are being drained unnecessarily. So without review, people repeat mistakes and remain confused. With review, people gain clarity and what I call confidence. With review, you gain clarity and confidence. So review asks honest questions such as, what did I do that moved me forward? And what drained me more than it helped me? What did I do that moved me forward? Let's say the last time you made progress, you wrote a book, and you need to ask yourself, what did I do that helped me to make progress in writing that book? What did I do that helped me in gaining more knowledge? So now, as you review, you begin to know what needs adjustment, and you begin to know what is that thing that I should repeat, what is that thing that I should stop. So this is important when it comes to productivity. So these questions help you stay aligned without condemning yourself. So now let us go to what I call resetting without quitting. Now, after review comes reset. Reset does not mean starting over completely. Reset means making adjustments while staying committed. Reset means making adjustments while staying committed. So many people quit when they should reset. Many people, they quit when they should reset. They abandon good plans because 1 week did not go well. You started because that week did not go well. You now abandon the plan. instead of you to reset, they discard healthy habits because they miss a few days. They give up because they didn't do what they were supposed to do today, so they give up. But progress is not destroyed by your setback. It is destroyed when you give up. When you give up on your dreams, when you give up on that good thing that you are doing, you destroy your progress because you gave up. You destroy your progress. So resetting might mean simplifying your goals. Simplifying your goals. It might mean changing your approach to doing things. It might mean resting and returning with what? Clarity. Returning with clarity. Now, if you started doing something and you stopped, it doesn't mean that you cannot continue. So what you have to do is to review, and ask yourself, how am I going to do this thing better? So reset is a sign of what I call wisdom. It is not weakness. So when you reset, you protect alignment. You give yourself permission to adapt rather than collapse under what? Pressure. You give yourself permission to what? To adapt rather than collapse under what? Pressure. So now let us go to progress is sometimes internal before it is external. So when you are making progress, your progress will come from the inside before it will begin to show. So one important truth about progress is that it often shows internally before it becomes visible externally. So you may become more disciplined before you see big results. That's the truth. You may become more disciplined before you will see big results. You may gain clarity before opportunities open up. Now, if you don't know what you are to do, you would not be able to recognize opportunity when you see opportunity. You may grow in confidence before outcomes will change. You may grow in confidence before outcome will change. So internal progress matters. Internal progress matters. It determines whether external success will be sustainable. The progress you make internally matters because it will determine if that your external success will be sustainable, if it will stay. You understand? If it will stay. Measuring progress only by visible things, visible outcomes, it causes discouragement. You cannot measure your progress by saying I must see this. No, that is not how you measure your progress. You measure your progress that what has happened to you all these months, all these days. What has happened to your life? What has transformed in your inside? Because when transformation happens in the inside, then that transformation can come outside. That transformation can come outside. So when you are trying to measure your progress by what is happening outside, you become discouraged. So measuring progress by growth in understanding, discipline, and alignment creates what? Stability. Measuring progress by growth in understanding, how you grow in understanding, how you grow in discipline, and alignment creates what? Stability. So if you want to measure your progress, check your understanding. Check your understanding over the years, over the days, over the months. Check how disciplined have I become this week. How disciplined was I today? Did I do things that didn't matter? Now, this is how you check your progress. Check your progress by your understanding. These are very, very important. Check your progress by your understanding. It will help you very, very well so that you do not collapse thinking that you are not making progress. Your discipline matters, and alignment creates what? Stability. So invisible progress is still what? Progress. Invisible progress is still progress. Remember, that which you are doing every day is what is going to enter into your future. So how do we stay aligned over time? Staying aligned requires regular reflection, regular reflection, not constant pressure, Alignment is maintained through small intentional check-ins with yourself. So when you regularly review, reset, and stay connected to your purpose and direction, it's going to help you. When you regularly review, you reset, what to change, what to stay consistent with, you will stay connected to your purpose and direction. So alignment brings peace. Alignment brings what? Peace. So it reduces anxiety. It reduces anxiety because you are moving intentionally. You are moving intentionally, even if slowly. It gives you confidence because you are not drifting aimlessly. So when alignment is present, progress feels meaningful rather than what? Exhausting. So to recap this, we must understand something. Progress is not about rushing, it is about direction. Staying aligned means staying honest, staying reflective, and staying adaptable. So when you learn how to measure progress properly, you stop being harsh with yourself. You will stop being harsh with yourself. Now that you know your progress is understanding, your progress is understanding, your progress is internal growth, your progress is discipline, you would know how to measure your progress, and you will not be harsh with yourself. So you stop quitting too early. You stop quitting too early. You begin to move forward with clarity and what? Confidence. So true productivity is not about how fast you move, but about how well your actions align with the life that you are building. So now let's go to invisible progress when results are not immediate. Invisible progress when results are not what? Immediate. So one of the most difficult parts of growth is not effort, it is that time that you have to start waiting. So many people start something with hope and expectation, but when results do not show quickly, discouragement sets in. They begin to question themselves, the progress, and even the value of what they are doing. They've questioned the value of what they are doing. This is where many people give up. And not because they are incapable, but because they misunderstand how progress truly works. So they assume that if results are not visible, they are not seeing visible results, then nothing is happening in their lives. But this assumption is not true. Invisible progress is real progress. It is simply progress that has not yet appeared on the surface. So now, why is it that we expect immediate results? Why is it that people expect to see immediate results? Because we are living in a fast world. We live in a culture of speed. You start something today and you want that thing to grow, over time. Now, let me tell you a little story. I started a school in 2019. Then I started building the school. Then after that was last year, 2024, I felt like the school wasn't moving, it wasn't growing, and I needed to start somewhere else again. Now I closed the school, a school that I started. I had some pupils. I told them to go and look for another school. But one day I went to social media and I was looking at pictures. I saw some videos. I was not like, did this happen in my school? I didn't see the progress of those children that graduated from my primary school. I didn't remember their progress. I didn't remember those that came to the school and they didn't know how to read and write. They started reading and writing. I was looking at the numbers. I was expected to be like 200, 300 pupils, as at last year, 2025, I was expecting to have gotten to 300, 400 pupils, but I didn't look at the progress that wasn't visible for others to see. The progress was those that I had already trained, that came to the school. There are people that came to the school that they knew nothing. I prayed for them that God would give them understanding. They started having understanding. Their lives became transformed. A lot of them, their attitude changed. They graduated from primary school, and I forgot all those things. I looked at those pictures, the times we had our graduation, times we had parties, had cultural day. I didn't remember those things, but after looking at these pictures, I started regretting, why did I close down this school? And now, although I started a new school, but I had missed that. I didn't know that. I just had to continue what I was doing. Just continue what I was doing. So we live in a culture of speed. I was looking for speed. Everything around us encourages instant what outcomes, quick responses, fast success, visible wins. Over time, this shapes our expectations. So we begin to believe that effort should always produce immediate what results. So I wanted to see the thousands of people in my school. But meaningful growth does not operate by this rule. The most valuable thing in life develops slowly. Character develops slowly. Discipline develops slowly. Wisdom develops slowly. Skill develops slowly. Purpose are not built overnight. You can't build your purpose overnight. They require time, repetition, and patience. Require what? Time, repetition, and what? Patience. So when we expect instant results from processes designed for long-term growth, disappointment becomes what? Inevitable. Okay, now, did I learn how to run a school from 2019 to 2024? Yes, I learned what is and what is not, but I didn't see my progress. So now let us go to the nature of invisible progress. Invisible progress happens beneath the surface. It is the kind of result that is forming foundation rather than producing applause. I want you to take note of this. It is a kind of growth that is forming foundation rather than producing what? Applause. It is quiet, unnoticed, and often underestimated. So think about planting a seed for a long time. Nothing seems to happen above the ground, but beneath the soil, the roots are forming. They are taking root. Strength is what developing to be able to carry that heavy what? Tree. Look at the palm tree. The palm tree can produce a lot of things, but it takes it takes years for it to begin to sprout out, for it to begin to, let's say, for it to begin to bear fruit. But when it starts bearing fruit, it will never stop. It doesn't stop. So, stability is being established. If the roots do not form properly, the plant cannot survive when growth becomes what? Visible. So in the same way, invisible progress strengthens the inner structure of your life. As you make invisible progress, as you begin to develop what I call character, as you develop discipline, develop consistency. These are things that will begin to build structures for your life. This is the patterns that you will follow that will bring you progress every time. It becomes part of your journey. So your thinking begins to change, your awareness increases, your discipline grows, your habits starts to shift. So these changes may not be celebrated, but they are essential. So I want you to understand that whatever you are doing, you are making progress. Whatever you are doing, you are making progress. Even the Bible says that whatever we are doing, we should do it with do it with diligence. Do it with what? Diligence. So now, why is it that invisible progress is often misjudged? Invisible progress is often misjudged because it lacks immediate evidence. You understand? When character is being built, you might not see the evidence immediately. People look for external proofs, numbers, like I was saying, look for numbers, achievements, recognition. When these are absent, they assume failure. They assume failure. Comparison often distorts perception. So when you compare your quiet progress with someone else's visible success, your own journey may feel insignificant. Your own journey becomes what? Insignificant. So, but comparison ignores context. You understand? But comparison what? Ignores what? Context, timing and personal seasons. Now, when you begin to compare your progress with other people, it will ignore your timing, it will ignore your personal season, and you'll begin to think that you are not making progress. So why is it that invisible progress is dismissed? It is impatience. Growth requires endurance. Growth requires endurance, and endurance is uncomfortable. Waiting tests commitment more than action does. Your waiting tests your commitment more than your action. Thus, that period you are waiting, it tests your what? Commitment more than your action. So what are we still talking about? What are we talking? Remember, these are productivity class. We are talking about results that are not visible, So now let's talk about internal change, how it precedes external results. How does it precede? So why is it very important for us to have internal changes? So before results, change, thinking must change. Before results change, your thinking must change. So before outcomes will shift, habits must form. Before outcome will shift, habits must do what? Must form. So before success will appear, capacity must grow. Before success will appear, capacity must grow. So invisible progress often shows up. How does it show up? It shows up as greater clarity, having to know the direction that your life should go. When you know this is where I'm going to, because a lot of people don't have clarity. A lot of people don't know what they are supposed to do part-time, and when you know, it is progress on its own. So now, the next we are going to talk about is better decision making. Invisible progress often appears as a better way of thinking. Increased self-awareness. You are not aware of yourself. Improve discipline. Reduce confusion. These are progress. You understand? These changes may not look impressive, but they determine whether visible results will be sustainable. And these things determine your productivity. It determines your productivity. So when people skip the invisible stage, their visible results collapses so quickly. So, but when invisible progress is allowed to mature, visible results will now last longer. They will do what? Last longer. So now, what are the dangers of quitting too early? When we quit too early, can we be productive? So one of the greatest dangers in productivity and personal growth is quitting at the invisible stage, that stage that you are supposed to develop. So many people stop, just before progress becomes visible. They abandon good habits because results are slow. They drop meaningful goals because affirmation is absent. Quitting early often means restarting repeatedly, and this circle creates frustration and self-doubt. This circle creates what? Frustration and self-doubt. So people begin to believe they are consistent, that they are inconsistent or incapable. They believe that they are inconsistent in doing things and they are capable because they quit. So when the real issue is impatience, the real problem is impatience. You are not patient. You are thinking that, oh, I am an inconsistent person. I am incapable. No, you are not patient. You are not patient. Now, let me tell you something. If you stop today and start tomorrow, I want you to know that it is not a sign that you are a failure. So understanding invisible progress helps people stay committed during quiet seasons. It teaches patience, trust, and reliance. So how do we respond during seasons of invisible progress? How do you respond to these seasons? During seasons when results are not immediate, the focus should shift from outcomes to alignment. You need to shift your focus from the outcome, you understand, to what? To alignment. Instead of asking, is this working? It is very healthy for you to ask, am I doing the right things consistently? Am I doing the right things consistently? Progress can be measured by faithfulness to the process rather than by visible reward. So you measure your progress by saying, am I faithful in my process? You understand? Not looking at that particular reward. So staying aligned, showing up daily and maintaining discipline are signs of what? Progress. So even when results are slow, these seasons are not wasted. They are formative what? Season. So now you need to redefine success during your invisible seasons. Success during invisible seasons is not about, let me say, it's not about what do you call success? Success during invisible seasons is not about recognition, it's about preparation. It's about becoming the person who can handle the results when they arrive. Are you the person who can handle results when they arrive? So when you redefine success this way, discouragement will reduce, you stop rushing, you stop comparing, you begin to value growth for what it is, not just for what it produces. So invisible progress builds what? Depth, and it is depth that sustains what? Results. And this is how you can actually have what? Productivity. So not all progress announces itself. Sometimes progress whispers. Some progress grow in silence. Are you getting what I'm saying? But when the time comes, it becomes what? Evidence that you are making progress, you are successful. So if you are doing the right things in the right season with the right intention, trust your process. Always trust your progress, because even when results, even when results are not immediate, invisible progress is not absence of growth. Invisible progress doesn't mean that you are not growing. It is growth in preparation. So before we round up this section today, I want to teach you something very important: learning to doing. So information alone in your life is not enough, but you must learn to do. So we live in an age of information. It's a information-rich generation, where we get a lot of information. Just like I'm giving you information, I'm teaching you. So it's not enough for me to just teach you. You must do what? You must do what you are learning. So never before has knowledge been so accessible. With a phone and an internet connection, people can learn anything, almost anything: productivity, business, relationship, personal growth, purpose, faith, as many that you want to learn. So yet in the midst of all this information, many people are still stuck. They are overwhelmed and unfulfilled. Now, you would need a mentor to guide you, to help you, because mentorship is a guide. It's a guide that helps one to fulfill destiny. Now, when you are feeling tired, you get to see someone who has been there before to direct you. You understand? So many people know more, but they do less, and changes what? Less. People attend trainings, watch videos, read books, listen to teachings, but their lives remain largely the same. Their lives remain the same. Why? Because they have no mentor. They are not accountable to anybody. Nobody is asking them, that thing that you said you want to do, have you done it? They are just doing things anyhow. So understanding this gap is crucial if productivity is to move from theory to what? Reality. So now, learning feels good. It gives a sense of progress. When people acquire new information, they feel motivated, hopeful, and inspired. But this emotional response can easily be taken for growth. You can think maybe you are growing, but you are not doing what to make it to grow. You just got information. So, but learning is the first stage of productivity. The first stage of productivity is learning, not the final one. So many people confuse exposure with transformation. They assume that because they understand something intellectual, change has already taken place. You understand? No. But understanding does not automatically lead to action, and action does not automatically become your habit. Information informs your mind, but the application transforms the life of an individual. So you get information, but when you apply what you have known, your life becomes what transformed. Now you know how to make money, but you are not doing the things that will help you to make money. So now I call information comfort zone. I want you to just call it comfort zone. You understand? So one reason people remain in learning mode is because learning is safe. It's safe to learn. It does not demand discipline. It does not demand consistency or risk. But when you want to do it, it demands your attention. So you can learn without changing your routine. You understand? You can learn without changing your routine. You can consume content without confronting your habits. Your habit remains the same. So doing, on the other hand, is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to do. It requires effort. That's why you would need a mentor. You will need a propeller, somebody that will propel you and move you towards what? Productivity. It exposes weakness. It demands consistency and patience. Now, if you have a mentor, your mentor will be able to expose your weakness and tell you, this is what you are not doing right at this particular time. So this is why many people prefer to stay in learning mode. They prefer to learn. They are busy but not stretched. Over time, people become professional learners but inconsistent doers. So have you seen professors that are poor? Have you seen people that have a wealth of knowledge but they are not using this knowledge? Just like someone that is called a jack of all trades. The person knows many things but is not productive in one particular thing. So now, information does not automatically produce results for you. Information, alone, cannot give you results, because results are not created by knowledge. They are created by repeated actions. If you are going to have results, the results will be created by your repeated action. Knowing what to do is different from doing it consistently. I know what to do, but are you doing it consistently? Are you doing it consistently? So a person may know how to plan their day, but without what? Discipline. So the plan remains on paper. This is how my day should go. You understand? The plan remains what? On paper. Someone may understand the importance of focus. Oh, I need to focus, but without boundaries, distractions will continue. Without boundaries, if you don't set boundaries for your life, distractions will continue. Now, somebody may understand that rest matters, but if you don't make intentional choices to rest, burnout to become persistent in your life. So the missing link between learning, that's having information, is what I call execution. And execution requires what? Structure. That's why I created the productivity blueprint. It is a 6-week course, a 8 weeks course, designed to help you to build a life of productivity. You understand? To build up, I'm going to teach you how to structure your life. How to structure your life. So now let's go to the role of structure in turning learning into doing. So the role of structure in turning learning into doing. Structure bridges the gap between learning and doing. Structure turns ideas into routines. It provides clarity on when, how, and what's next to do. So without structure, people rely on motivation, but motivation is emotional and what I call inconsistent. Like I've taught you before, it's emotional and it's inconsistent. So when motivation fades, action, stops. Structure. So action stops. But when we talk about structure does not depend on on what I call feeling. It depends on design. Structure does not depend on what? Feeling. You get what I'm saying? If you want to build a house, now you would need to write make the plan of that house, and you would start that you need to know how that is going to be done, and you have to start building with structure. You understand? It has, the plan has already been made, so you build your life with structure. Life, It's important that you have structure. So, and it depends on design. So this is why many people often succeed better in a guided environment, where people are guided, accountability, timelines and systems, support execution in ways information alone cannot. So now, listen to me. One of the reasons learning does not translate into results, is because people aim too big and too quickly. They try to implement everything at once. They don't have direction. They don't have direction. So when this becomes overwhelming, they stop entirely. Are you getting what I'm saying? So transformation rarely comes after dramatic decisions. It comes from small repeated actions. It comes from what? Small repeated what? Action. So one planned day, one focus section, one habit you practice daily. So doing something consistently is more powerful than knowing something great but doing nothing. Knowing something great but doing nothing. Doing something consistently is more powerful than knowing something great. I came across a video one day and the man said, it's not enough for you to know. Life only responds to the doers. You understand? So accountability is very, very important. Accountability is very, very important. So why is accountability very important? Accountability is not about pressure. It's about support. It's about support. This is a system where somebody supports you. When people are accountable, they're more likely to follow through, reflect, and adjust. So many people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack accountability. They lack accountability. Left alone, it is easy to postpone. When you are left alone, it's easy for you to just postpone, rationalize, or give up quietly. So accountability brings awareness and commitment. So this is why learning environments that include accountability produces better results than self-paced information. Self-paced information. Now we have a lot of things that you can learn on the internet. Now, because you are not accountable to anything, you will have to do it when you like. You understand? So let us go from what I call the shifts from consumption to application. True productivity begins when people shift from asking, what else can I learn, to asking, what do I need to apply? You have learned a lot. What do I need to apply? So this shift requires humility. It requires patience. It requires willingness to start imperfectly. So, but it is the point where growth becomes real. This is the point where your growth becomes what? Real. So learning adds what? Knowledge. Doing builds your character. Consistency creates results. Can I say that again? Learning adds knowledge to you. Doing builds your character, and consistency creates what? Results. So now, how do we define success? How do we define success? Success is not measured by how many classes you attend, or how much content you consume. Success is measured by how much of what you learn actually shows up daily in your life. Success is measured by how much of what you learn actually shows up in your daily life. When learning becomes a tool for action rather than an escape from action, productivity becomes what? Meaningful. Information is powerful, but only when it leads to intentional, consistent doing. Information alone can inspire you, just as I have inspired you, but it cannot change you. That is why you need me to mentor you, to guide you constantly so that you can do. So change comes when learning is followed by action, and action is repeated until it becomes a habit. So I am introducing the 8 weeks productivity blueprint. This is a system that have been built, and I worked on it, to help for effective productivity. And in these 8 weeks, you are going to be accountable. You are going to have questions to answer that will help you, build a productive life. Then at the end of 2026, you will see your life responding to your ability. So it's not enough to know. What are you doing with what you know? Now you have a lot inside of you that needs to come out. You have a lot inside of you that needs to come out. So you need someone who can coach you, guide you to become. So I want you to register for the 8 weeks productivity blueprint. In this 8 weeks, this is an 8 weeks of extraordinary experience. It's an 8 week of extraordinary what? Experience. My name is Coach Adebisi Joy Ateli, and I believe that as you follow me in this productivity class, you would be productive and you will thank me later.